This is Neil with Gearhead Machineworks, and I am at a beautiful park in Houston, Texas, enjoying the weather, and I'm going to talk to you about the three options that we offer for connecting the WASP 12 Pro do-it-yourself motor cage to another axis on the gimbal. So for instance, if you're wanting to use this as a roll cage and you're wanting to connect this to carbon fiber roll bar, or let's say you're using the cage as a pan axis and you want to connect this to a handlebar for a hand rig, this connection option can facilitate that. You can even use this thing for a tilt cage, where the carbon fiber tube is a upright for a camera tray. So the way that this thing works is you've got, in the rear of the clamp, you've got two 632 screws here. I'm going to loosen these up slightly. Then on the opposite side of the clamp you have a quarter 20 thumb screw. So we're going to loosen this up a touch, pass a carbon fiber tube through it, and when you are balancing your gimbal and you are going along and finding the center of gravity for this axis along the tube, when you've found it, what you want to do is take and torque down these rear fasteners such that you're leaving about a ½ millimeter of space between the two halves of the clamp. Then on the opposite side, go ahead and torque down the thumb screw. Now, let's say you're using this cage as a roll cage. This is your roll bar, and you've got a cantilevered load out here, let's say a camera, in the range of 1 to 7 pounds. If that's the case, you can tighten this thing with your hand. Get it hand tight, as tight as you can go, and it's going to hold this bar from rotating. Now, anywhere from 7 pounds all the way up to 12 pounds, we suggest take an Allen wrench and continue to torque this fastener down until it's almost bottomed out, until the two halves of the clamp are almost bottomed out on each other. You want to leave about a millimeter of space between these two. Right, so we have two other options for joining this cage to a particular axis on your gimbal. So the first one we already discussed is option 1 with this clamp. You can remove this clamp. You can remove this thing. There are 4 screws that come up through the center hub here from the back. So to access those screws, you have to remove the motor. Then you can take an Allen wrench and get to those screws. Once you unscrew them, this clamp's going to come off. Then you can install this guy. It's a little cylinder with the same bolt circle here, so it fits onto the center hub of the gimbal cage. And you torque this guy down. It's got a feature on it that makes up to a 7 millimeter thick or wide slot. And so it's designed so that you can join the cage to a plate upright on a camera tray. So if you want to adjust your uprights on your camera tray up and down. You find your balance, and then you use this screw to torque it down and set it. So that's the second option. If you don't want to use either of these, one or two, you can also join this cage to carbon fiber plate or aluminum plate, steel, any sort of plate structure that you can come up with, you can join to the center hub. You just have to make sure you've got a 12mm bolt circle with 3mm holes. And so, for instance, I could remove this clamp, put this plate on here, and then torque the fasteners down with nuts holding this plate to the gimbal cage. So there's a lot of options for using this cage for your build. It's scalable, and it's great for the do-it-yourselfer. If you have any questions about this, feel free to email us, and we will get back to you promptly.